What's up, guys? Sci-Fi Guy 2094 here, and I am starting off November with a banger. Oh my gosh. I watched Good Time last night, starring Robert Pattinson and Benny Safdie. So basically, this movie is just a crime thriller from start to finish. Um, Robert Pattinson plays Connie Nicholas, and Benny Safdie plays Nick Nicholas. And Nick is he's kind of mentally challenged, and he's seeing a therapist. And Connie comes in, played by Robert Pattinson, and he thinks that this isn't helping him, so he takes him out of the therapy session. And it's just these two brothers just trying to survive. So they have this bank heist very early in the movie, and it goes not so good. So they make out with the money, but it was kind of like a bait bag of money, and it basically exploded, and it has all this paint and stuff everywhere so it can signal the cops. So these guys got paint and everything all over them. They had to change their clothes. He ends up stashing the bag in like some gas station bathroom, like in the ceiling. And they're trying to get away because they're kind of recognized by the cop. He just stops them. And unfortunately, Nick, he kind of runs through a glass door. He knocks himself out. So then it's just Connie. And he's trying to find his brother and get him out of. He basically wants to break him out of a hospital. So he's handcuffed to a hospital bed. Because, when you're a criminal and you've done something, if you need medical attention, they've got to treat you. But he's handcuffed to the hospital bed. So Connie comes up with the ingenious plan, right? To break his brother out of the hospital. This is a very cool scene. It's tense, it's thrilling because there's cops there. So the cop leaves to get like a vending, like a little snack break. And so Connie goes in there. He kind of breaks the handcuff, like the little thing that's on the bed, like those little guardrails on the little hospital bed. So he wheels him out. He wheels him out. They're downstairs. There's like this access bus for people with disabilities. So he wheels him onto this bus. Oh my gosh. And then the bus driver's like, well, there's not another stop. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, I just live right up here, just a couple blocks. So he gets off the bus, right? And then he just knocks at this random lady's house. He's like, I hope you recognize me from the access bus. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, can I just use your phone? So it's weird. He just like walks into this lady's house. And of course, he's like lying about everything because he says that he basically says that his brother kind of acted out at a therapy session and the doctor wants to press charges, which is not the case at all. It's because of the bank robbery. So he's lying to these people. He's kind of just like intruding, even though they invite him in. So then what happens is the guy wakes up who's in the hospital bed, and it's not his brother. So this guy's flipping out, and he goes on this ramble about how he just got out of jail, and he's all, screwed up with alcohol and all kinds of things. So then they realize, okay, so this isn't actually Nick. It's just some random dude that he broke out of the hospital. And then they're like, okay, well, I've got this acid that I stashed at this amusement park. And, I can, we can make some money. We can move it tonight. And then Connie's just like, okay, cool. Yeah, because, I need to get my brother out. He's trying to bail him out of jail. He needs like $10,000. And what happened is they kind of go to this little amusement park. The guard, like the security guard, notices them. He calls the police. They beat him up and take his uniform, pour some acid on him. And so he's kind of drugged up. They pour like some acid down his mouth. And now the cops think that the security guard was like the one breaking in because, they stole his clothes and they are basically impersonating him. And then they find out where the security guard lives, so they go to his house, and then the the guy who is not his brother that he broke out of the hospital, he's like, okay, well, yeah, I got this acid, and hold on, let me call my guy, and we can probably move it tonight. They're trying to sell these drugs so they can get money, and it's just this whole ordeal. So that guy shows up, and then Connie is just like, no, man, I don't need like $2,000. I need more than that. And he's just like, I'm done with you. So, then he tries to leave, and then they're like, no, he's got the acid, we got to get him because it's their stuff, it's their product. So Connie's on the run. He drops, the acid, and then he basically gets taken in by the cops. And, yeah, so that's kind of how it ends. He basically gets arrested. And then we see his brother Nick is in I guess a better place for somebody who has, mental challenges. And, they believe that basically, Connie was a bad influence on you. You're not necessarily responsible for your actions. So, Nick actually, he tends to open up during the session because the lady's like, well, walk across the room if you've ever told a lie. Walk across the room if you've ever done whatever. So, now we see that Nick is kind of surrounded by people that are more like him, people with like mental disabilities. And, hopefully he can fit in and live a normal life. We don't know what's going to happen to Connie, but wow, I just gotta say, this movie is just thrilling from start to finish. From the bank robbery in the beginning to just all the events that happen throughout this night. This movie is so good. And I just gotta say, Robert Pattinson is a very talented actor. Some people are not familiar with his work outside of Twilight, but I have to say, this is probably his best film and his best performance. You could argue that The Lighthouse is his best performance, even though the film's not good. But this is a good movie as well as his performance. Like, this guy is just... And again, they're in like Brooklyn, so this is like New York, and there's a lot of crime, and it's just grungy and dirty, and they're just trying to survive. And of course, they've lived a life of crime this entire time. And they were abused by their grandmother when they were younger, and it's just the two of them. So they're just trying to get through life. But it's great. It's a thrilling ride from start to finish. And Robert Pattinson just kills it as Connie in this role. It's like, you would never assume. Like, obviously, Robert Pattinson is British, but he's got, like, the American accent down pat. And he's kind of got a New York accent. And just, like, his demeanor and everything is just spot on. As just, like, this kind of low-life American New Yorker who's down on his luck and has committed himself to a life of crime, but yet he still loves his brother, and he's basically doing everything for him and his brother because, it's just them, so they gotta look out for each other. So, oh my gosh, Good Time is just so amazing. If you haven't seen this movie, you have to see it. If you like crime, if you like thriller, and there's a little bit of action in here as well, but it's incredible. Personally, I mean, I just can't find anything wrong with this movie. It's really that good. And if you go by Rotten Tomatoes scores, then you can see right there, it's got a certified fresh sticker from Rotten Tomatoes. But anyway, that is my review for Good Time. It's an amazing movie. I would give it a 10 out of 10. You definitely need to watch Good Time. You won't regret it.